most of us have seen it. A loved one with Alzheimer's, a friend slipping into dementia, someone sharp now slowly fading. And every time we're told the same thing. It just happens. It's part of aging. There's nothing you can do. But what if that's not true? What if the system let it happen? What if it's always been more profitable to manage decline than to prevent it? I'm not saying that's how it is, but it is. And the deeper you go, the more you start to see it. This was never about restoration. It was about containment. It was about keeping people sick, but manageable. In the US right now, over 38 million adults have diabetes. That's 1 in 10. Nearly 1 in 3 seniors. Type 2 diabetes in kids is up 62% since 2020. 1 in 3 teens is already pre-diabetic. Add that to 4 out of 10 adults being obese, and you've got a full-scale metabolic collapse. Some researchers now refer to Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes because it's driven by insulin resistance, glucose dysfunction, chronic inflammation, and mitochondrial failure. The brain needs insulin to process energy. Without it, neurons begin to fail. Memory fades, synapses disconnect, and energy dies. Insulin resistance feeds inflammation. Inflammation damages mitochondria. Mitochondria stop producing ATP, and low ATP worsens insulin resistance. It's a vicious loop, and until you stop all three, decline doesn't stop. I'm Kirk with the Wellness Elevation channel. If you've been following this series, welcome back. And if you're new, like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to see it. Part 1 was about systemic inflammation. This is Part 2, insulin resistance and Type 3. Part 3 is coming next, low ATP and energy collapse. And this is why peptides are entering the conversation. Not as miracle drugs, not as symptom suppressors, but as biological signals, tools that help restore what the body already knows how to do. Before we go further, let me show you a short clip from Part 1 on what peptides are and how they fit into this. Peptides are short chains of amino acids, the same basic building blocks your body already uses to create hormones, enzymes, and signaling molecules. They're not stimulants, they're not painkillers, they're not designed to mask symptoms, and they don't force the body into an artificial state the way many drugs do. Instead, peptides tend to signal, modulate, or support biological pathways that already exist. They work with the body's communication systems, not against them. Think of it less like flooring the gas pedal and more like sending instructions to systems that were already built, but may no longer be communicating clearly. That distinction matters, because when inflammation, insulin resistance, and low cellular energy disrupt signaling, the body doesn't lose intelligence, it loses coordination. Peptides aren't about overpowering biology, they're about restoring the conversation. I want to pause here for a moment and say something important, because longtime viewers know I've always said that if you look in the description, you won't find me selling anything. That has changed, and I want to be very clear about how and why. I am not selling peptides, I'm not selling coaching, and nothing in this video is medical advice. What I am offering now is the OPP, Optimized Peptide Performance Apparel line. It's not supplements, it's not protocols, it's simply apparel made by the peptide community for the peptide community. Because I think this space, this conversation, and this culture are worth representing. If that interests you, it's linked below. If not, nothing changes. This content stays exactly the same. So we're calling this metabolic sovereignty because sovereignty means control. It means no longer being ruled by a system that profits off your decline. It means reclaiming control over repair, inflammation, and energy at the signaling level. Let's look at how people are doing that. Cerebrolysin is a peptide blend derived from pig brain proteins that contains small neurotrophic factors. In research settings, it's been shown to support neuroplasticity, neuronal survival, synaptic repair, and cognitive restoration pathways. Rather than acting as a single magic molecule, cerebrolysin mimics endogenous growth factors like BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and NGF, nerve growth factor, critical messengers the brain uses to build connections, adapt to stress, and recover after injury. Because neural breakdown in Alzheimer's involves failing repair signals, this kind of neurotrophic support is one of the few interventions that speaks to structure rather than symptom. Cerebrolysin is like flipping the breaker switch back on in damaged neural circuits, restoring power to pathways previously darkened by metabolic failure. In the insulin resistant brain, neurons lose their ability to connect and communicate, since networks and plasticity are central to memory and cognition. Cerebrolysin's growth factor signaling may help reverse neural disconnection that occurs in early Alzheimer's and type 3 associated decline. How about methylene blue? Methylene blue is a long standing compound with a surprisingly modern application. At low subanesthetic levels, it's been shown to improve mitochondrial electron transport efficiency and reduce oxidative stress, meaning it helps the powerhouses of the cell actually generate ATP instead of leaking damaging reactive oxygen species, ROS. This is especially relevant when mitochondrial function is compromised by chronic systemic inflammation and insulin resistance, conditions that precede and accompany cognitive decline. Like plugging in a backup generator before the lights go out, methylene blue helps stabilize energy flow in cells under stress. In the brain affected by metabolic dysfunction, mitochondria falter and ROS accumulation accelerates neuronal death. Methylene blue may help sustain energy production and protect neurons from oxidative damage. Two factors that are key to slowing the progression of Alzheimer's like decline. Now, BPC 157 is a peptide derived from a naturally occurring component in gastric juice. It's primarily studied for tissue repair, vascular protection, and barrier integrity, especially in the gut and blood-brain barrier, BBB. A leaky gut or compromised BBB allows systemic inflammation and immune signals to flood the brain, accelerating neuroinflammation and cognitive breakdown. BPC 157 appears to modulate inflammatory pathways, improve endothelial function, and support healing in tissues that normally take much longer to recover. Think of BPC 157 as an emergency construction crew that patches holes in the walls while the siege is still underway, strengthening defenses before more damage accrues. When the blood-brain barrier lets inflammatory mediators in, cognitive circuits sustain secondary damage. BPC 157's role in restoring barrier function may reduce the neuroinflammatory cascade that contributes to Alzheimer's and related metabolic brain disorders. MOTS-C is a mitochondrial encoded peptide that signals across cellular energy systems, improving insulin sensitivity and metabolic flexibility. Unlike many peptides that act on single pathways, MOTS-C influences glucose uptake, fat oxidation shifts, and stress adaptation, effectively tuning how cells use fuel. Because insulin resistance doesn't just affect blood sugar but also neuronal fuel access, MOTS-C represents a bridge between metabolic regulation and cellular energy demands. Like a firmware update that recalibrates how a device uses power and resources, MOTS-C helps cells handle fuel more efficiently. Brain insulin resistance starves neurons despite abundant glucose. By enhancing sensitivity and shifting fuel utilization, MOTS-C may help restore energy availability to brain cells, which may slow the metabolic starvation that is seen in type 3 progression. Now, SS31 is a synthetic peptide designed to target the inner mitochondrial membrane, the very site where ATP is produced. Mitochondria in aging or insulin-resistant neurons become leaky, producing excessive ROS and losing ATP output. SS31 binds to cardiolipin, a lipid unique to that membrane, stabilizing its structure and improving electron transport chain function. Importantly, this is not about boosting energy transiently, it's about preserving the engine itself, like sealing cracks in a failing power plant so it can continue generating electricity safely. Energy failure is a core feature of Alzheimer's pathology. If neuronal mitochondria can't sustain ATP, repair and communication fail. SS31's ability to protect mitochondrial integrity may counteract that decline. There's GHK copper. GHK is a copper-binding peptide that naturally circulates in human plasma. It's been studied for tissue regeneration, collagen synthesis, angiogenesis, which is new vessel growth, antioxidant modulation, and immune signaling balance. In aging and chronic inflammation, vascular health deteriorates, nutrient delivery falters, and immune responses become dysregulated. GHK copper interacts with these systems in a way that appears to re-educate damaged tissue toward repair rather than degeneration. It's like switching a demolition site back to a construction zone, turning damage into opportunity. Reduced cerebral blood flow and vascular fragility are hallmarks of Alzheimer's progression. GHK copper's vascular support and immune modulation may restore nutrient supply and immune balance in cognitive circuits. KPV is a tripeptide fragment derived from alpha MSH, a hormone involved in immune regulation. Unlike broad immunosuppressants, KPV doesn't shut the immune system down. Instead, it appears to selectively reduce inflammatory cytokine production and calm overactive immune responses. Neuroinflammation is a central driver of neuron damage in insulin resistance and type 3 biology. Persistent microglial activation contributes to synaptic loss and cognitive decline. Like a skilled negotiator who calms a riot without disarming the entire security team. By reducing inflammatory signaling without immunosuppression, KPV may slow the neuroinflammatory processes that exacerbate Alzheimer's like neurodegeneration. When it comes to NAD+ and 5-amino, 1MQ, neither are peptides, but can play a major part here. NAD+, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, is central to cellular energy production, DNA repair, and longevity pathways. NAD+ declines with age and metabolic stress. 5. Amino 1MQ is an investigational compound that inhibits NNMT, an enzyme that accelerates NAD+ depletion, allowing cells to preserve or restore NAD+ levels. Higher NAD+ levels support sirtuin activity, mitochondrial health, and stress response systems, like refueling your system's battery and unclogging the refill line, allowing cellular energy systems to recharge. Low NAD+ in neurons correlates with impaired energy production and repair failure. Supporting NAD+ may help maintain neuronal resilience and slow metabolic aging processes tied to cognitive decline. Now, there are also a group of nootropics, including racetams and choline donors like alpha-GPC. These are studied for cognitive enhancement through improved neurotransmission, receptor modulation, and synaptic efficiency. They don't fix the underlying metabolic pathology, but can improve clarity, focus, and memory performance in the short term. Think of them as performance scaffolding while deeper systems recover, like adding temporary traffic lanes while the main highway is being rebuilt. It improves flow, but doesn't fix the core structure. In early decline, cognitive circuits struggle to transmit signals. Nootropics may help optimize remaining pathways while upstream repair pathways are activated. And lastly, retatrutide is a next-generation peptide combining agonism at GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon receptors. This multi-axis action improves insulin sensitivity, enhances fat metabolism, and supports lean tissue preservation, all while elevating metabolic rate. Unlike classic GLP-1 drugs, retatrutide's glucagon receptor engagement contributes to increased energy expenditure and reduced metabolic stagnation, like rebooting the thermostat, furnace, and ventilation system at once, optimizing the entire internal ecosystem. By reducing systemic insulin resistance and restoring broader metabolic flexibility, retatrutide may help break the metabolic loop that accelerates Alzheimer's progression and cognitive decline. Type 3 associated decline. Look closely at what you've just seen. Every condition we talked about, Alzheimer's, insulin resistance, inflammation, energy failure, none of them happen overnight. They unfold slowly, quietly, predictably, and that's exactly why the system doesn't stop them, because slow decline is billable. Slow decline is manageable. Slow decline keeps people dependent, compliant, lifelong customers. You're not broken. Your body isn't failing you. You're living inside a system that was never designed to restore health, only to intervene late, treat fragments, and manage the consequences. And for most people, that's where the story ends. They accept the narrative, they accept the prescriptions, they accept the decline, not because they're weak, but because they were never shown another path. But there is another path. It isn't easy, it isn't mainstream, and it doesn't come with guarantees. It requires courage, it requires curiosity, and it requires the willingness to take responsibility back from systems that profit when you don't. Metabolic sovereignty isn't about rebellion, it's about literacy, understanding inflammation, understanding insulin resistance, understanding energy at the cellular level. It's about learning how the body actually works and choosing to participate in that process instead of outsourcing it completely. Peptides, metabolic tools, signaling molecules, these aren't miracles, they're messages. And when combined with knowledge, discipline, and intent, they give the body a chance to remember what it already knows how to do. The system will keep doing what it does, but you don't have to keep doing what it expects. Metabolic sovereignty isn't given, it's taken, one decision, one signal, one step at a time. Most people will never see this video because the system doesn't push content that challenges its business model. But if this message mattered to you, if you're someone who's tired of managing decline and wants to take back control, then I'm asking you to help me amplify this message. Subscribe, like the video, but most importantly, share it with someone who needs to hear it. That's how this community grows. That's how the message spreads. And that's how we shift the conversation, one signal at a time. So, before we close, everything we've talked about today ultimately comes down to one thing: energy. When cells lose ATP, repair stops, signaling breaks down, and decline accelerates. That's what the final video in this series is about: low ATP and mitochondrial failure. And if any of the peptides or tools mentioned today stood out, we've done deeper dives on most of them here on the channel. Explore those if you want to go further. Part 3 is coming next.